So it's very nice to see you all. This is a historic meeting, our very first Zoom meeting. Tried to avoid having one, but it couldn't be avoided anymore. And a historic time of pandemic, epidemic. I actually went through the town reports from 1918 and 1919 to see what appeared in them from the Spanish flu, and there was no mention of it at all. So maybe Wakefield was exempt from that last pandemic we had.
I'm on now. I can see you on my screen.
Okay, Jean.
Well, I don't know what happened, but you're on.
Okay. All right, I think there's a way to start that he could click on turning on the camera, but I think we better just go ahead.
Okay.
We have 3 new members, so I'd like to introduce all of us to all of you. I think we have 2 of you here. I'm Nancy Bertrand. I'm the chairman of the Historical Commission, and I've been on it for quite some time. And I'm also involved with the Historical Society and the Hartshorn House Association. And I live here in Wakefield, just like you guys. And so I'd like all of us to, introduce yourselves. So Dan, would you go next?
Yeah, I'm Dan Benjamin, and on the Historical Society, I think 2 years.
Yeah.
And calling from the observatory here now.
And Catalina?
Hi, I'm Catalina. This would be my first time joining the Historical Commission. I'm a project manager and I live in Wakefield.
Great, great. Therese?
Not muted. Hi, everyone. I'm Therese Frazier. This is also my first year with the Historical Commission. I am a web developer and I also live in Wakefield. So I'm glad to be here.
And Fran?
Hi, everyone. Francine Harrington. So I'm a project specialist in the healthcare field, and I think I've been on the group for 4 or 5 years.
There you are. I think you started at the same time as Dan.
Yeah, I think it's been like 4 years. I think we've had 2 terms already, Dan.
Time just flies by, you know.
When you're having fun. And I thought I saw Jen here as well. Jen, are you here?
Yes, I am. Hi, I'm Jen. I moved to Wakefield in 2012. I'm currently a stay-at-home mom. Hopefully one of my 3 girls won't pop on the screen. Prior to that, I worked in insurance and I was an environmental consultant prior to that.
Great, great. Well, we're all delighted to have all of you. I'm sure you're going to invigorate our group with all kinds of great ideas, great energy, and we're looking forward to working with you. I should mention.
I'm on now. I can see myself on the screen.
Gina, we should have you introduce yourself as well. Everyone kind of knows you.
I've been on the commission for many years. I was a school teacher, an editor, international travel guide, and we've been very busy on this commission. It's a very important commission.
Well, thank you, Jean.
Do you see my picture? Did you?
No, sadly, all we see is a green phone, but.
Well, anyway, the camera's on.
We'll have to practice.
I can see him.
Oh.
I can see him too.
I'm going to have to get Ben back, I think.
He might be on both at the same time. That's.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, new commissioners, we usually meet on the the last Wednesday of the month, but all of that is subject to change. The last time we met was in February, and I have notes from that meeting if you'd be interested in seeing them. They were just notes. But if you would like to get the idea of the kinds of things and the kinds of projects that we're working on, I can give you a little bit of history of that. And I've also downloaded a whole lot of little documents that I thought I would send you, if you like, about the role of historical commissions, as opposed to, of course, historical societies or historic district commissions. A whole bunch of little documents like that, mostly published by the Mass Historical Commission. So if you like, I can send a whole bunch of stuff along. And of course, you're always welcome to give a call or email. Love to hear from you. We do maintain a website, historicwakefield.com, and we have a post office box. Post Office Box 2031 in Wakefield. So the main reason for that we had to have the meeting tonight, even though I was hoping to avoid Zoom and wait until we can actually have a meeting in person, although who knows when that will be. But we have to, it's the end of the town's fiscal year. And so we have to settle the Historical Commission's bills. So what I'm going to do is to do a list of the bills. You can ask questions if you like. And then at the end, we will have a vote on the bills, all of them together, unless there's something controversial, but I don't think there is. Anyway, and it will have to be a roll call vote, I have been instructed. My husband has lots of meetings in the kitchen. Okay, first of all, I need to be reimbursed for paying for the post office box for the year. The amount was $134. Secondly, we need to pay the Wakefield item for the printing of our MLD stuffer, which went out in actually last August. And that is in the amount of $432. That includes their printing it and they're taking it to Yeominster to be stuffed into the MLD bills. Third, we need to, and these two next ones were all approved by the Historical Commission at our meeting in February. We need to pay WCAT for digitizing and stabilizing a series of historic interviews that we had done. We had done a whole lot of oral history interviews back in the 80s and 90s. And of course, all of those were on VHS or videotape. And so in great danger of being lost completely. So because of that, we did have them digitized by WCAT. We had actually approved up to $500 for that purpose, but it only cost $224. We had also approved reimbursing me for the purchase of a portable hard drive to put the interviews on. And that's $114.75. It's a lot of, it all seems like little bits of money, I know, but for us, it's big. Finally, we have a membership, an annual membership to Historic New England, a kind of an organizational membership, which we found very useful over the years when we need help and advice for things from the paint color of the Westward School interior. Or the paint color, we're thinking about repainting one of the rooms at the Hartshorn House. So, and other little tips like that, they are a fund of knowledge that is right there for us. And it's good for us to support their organization as well. And that is in the amount of $125. The total is $1,029.73.
Would you repeat the total?
$1,029.73.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? No.
No?
Can I have a motion to approve these bills?
I move that we approve all those bills in the total of amount of $1,029.73.
Can I have a second?
Second that motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, I will call your names. Dan Benjamin.
Yes.
Jen? How
Yes.
do you say your last name?
Osterhout.
Osterhout.
It's like toaster and out.
Okay. Jen Osterhout. How do you vote?
Yes.
Kathlena Driver.
Yes.
Therese, I don't have your last name on my screen.
Yeah, I made it so you can only see my first name, not for
Therese
the
Frazier.
other meetings. But my last name's Frazier, and yes.
Thank you. Fran Harrington.
Yes.
Jean Moulton.
Yes.
Okay. And I will support that as well. So the motion carries unanimously, and I'll get the bills over to the town accountant so that they can wrap up our fiscal year tomorrow. Okay. Then in other matters, I'd just like to touch on a few things that we had going on at our meeting in February. First, we have one of the important jobs of the Wakefield Historical Commission, and all historical commissions, is to, if you're lucky enough for your town to have a demolition delay bylaw, and one of our jobs is to maintain that. The demolition delay bylaw was amended by an act of the town meeting in November of 2018. But it has taken a long time for it to materialize in the town's laws that are posted online. So I have been trying to figure out what's going on with that. It seems that there is some kind of snafu having to do with the fact that the bylaw review committee didn't succeed in having the full text of the amendments in the little booklet that comes out with the town meeting. So because of that, there just have been a series of little complications. However, I think that it is going to be resolved soon. I'm hopeful. In the meantime, I have put all of the amendments, included all of the amendments in the demolition delay bylaw, which you can read through, and I think you should, on our website, historicwakefield.com. That way you can see all the legalities of the bylaw. So that's that. Secondly, another thing that has been going since the February is we would like to have a preservation restriction on Jean's house. Jean, tell us about your house.
Well, it's on the National Register, and I keep getting emails and phone calls from different realtors that they want to buy the house. Obviously, I want to die in this house, But it's what I'm concerned about is after I'm gone and the will is settled, whoever buys the house, do they have to keep that restriction on it, or can they get rid of it?
No, Jean, I think the preservation restriction, depending on the way that it's worded, would preserve the house.
Oh, okay, then my next question would be, do you have Tom Mullen's email address? Because I have a couple of questions I want to ask him.
Yes,
and
I will send that. Tom Mullen, for those of you who don't know, is town council.
Okay, you'll send it.
And we have never had a preservation restriction on the property outside of.
All right, your voice isn't coming in, so if you'd email it to me when you get a chance.
Okay, Jean, I'll do that. Does everybody else hear me?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we have a preservation restriction on the West Ward School as well. The preservation restriction will have to be.
Okay, my concern is I have a big back lot, and I think because there are 10 rooms in the house, I think developer would want to buy the house, make 2 apartments out of the house, and build another 2 or 3 unit on the back lot. And I'm sure my neighbors would be very upset.
Well, those are all things that maybe can be worked out when you have a talk with town council, Jean.
Okay.
We'd be interested in, obviously, Jean's house is an 18th or early 19th century house on Oak Street.
The oldest part of it was 1764, prior to the Revolution.
Right. I can send you the whole history of Jean's house, since it almost killed us getting it on the National Register of Historic Places.
Oh boy, you can say that again.
Yep, it almost killed us. In the process, we did learn a lot about researching the history of your house at Middlesex Deeds. Several of my family members and I spent a couple of days down there going through the big old books, which was fascinating, and we were able to trace Jean's house back. And then we had to wrestle with the Mass Historical Commission to convince them to put it on the National Register without our having to hire a consultant to do it, with just me doing the work, which I guess they prefer us to hire consultants. But anyway, we got it on, and it's a wonderful house. And I hope that you, sometime Jean will host a meeting of the Historical Commission or a field trip over to his house. It has been,
I would be happy to.
It's been his lifelong work to carefully preserve the house. And it's so many of the original features of the house are intact. And by his giving the town a preservation restriction on the house, hopefully we'll be able to preserve this piece of history into the future, since we are losing so many other fine houses all the time. So we're going to have to work on that, Jean. Third, over the summer, I would like to get going on the burying ground map project. Are you all familiar with the old burying ground? Yep.
Yes.
Okay, the one right over near the First Parish Church?
Yes.
We've done a lot of work over in the old burying ground going back into the 1990s, but we need to update our map and our records. It's the work of, if we had several volunteers, it would be kind of pleasant work, I think, on nice summer days. So I'm going to divide up a map and hope to maybe advertise for volunteers. What do you think about that?
That sounds like a good idea. We get more people interested in the history of the town and interested in research.
The gravestones are really fascinating. Many of them date back into the 17th century. In fact, some of the finest examples of Puritan gravestone art are right there in our old burying ground. So it's like an outdoor museum. But we created the map in 1990, and I'm sorry to say that I think that we probably have lost quite a few gravestones since then. So our mapping project will also kind of record our losses, and we'll see if what the status of the remaining gravestones are. Disturbingly, last summer, I was called by somebody from Salem telling me that they had seen somebody selling gravestones at a flea market and saying that they came from Wakefield. So I don't really know what we can do about that. I think we'd like to contact the police or the DPW. I had talked to Mr. Stinson about it when he was the director of the DPW. It's a significant historical resource, and it's so eminently pillageable. I don't know if that's a word, but it would be a shame to lose more gravestones. So anyway.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Just out of curiosity, so the mapping, what is the mapping, like an overview of mapping? Like what are you cataloging?
Well, here's the story. We have these giant maps of old burying. They were all labeled with numbers and letters. So there was like a grid system on them. And they corresponded, and we identified and photographed all of most of the gravestones, and wrote down all of everything that was on the gravestone. So we did all of that work in advance. Sadly, that was all in my house, and I had a fire in my house, which, we lost the house, and we lost most of the house, and we lost the map with its key. So that's what we're kind of working on doing, is reestablishing that key, the letters and numbers that would correspond to the gravestones. So,
okay,
that's what we're doing. Make sense?
Okay. Yes, it does. Sorry to hear about your house.
Yeah, well, it was a while ago, but it's taken this long to try to get that all reestablished.
Mm-hmm.
All of the other research did survive, thankfully. So it's just this key to the map. So it's going to take some time and some work. But I think if we had a bunch of volunteers, each spending maybe an afternoon, it would be good. So I don't know if I don't think I need a motion to do this, but is everybody kind of in favor of this project?
Yes.
So Nancy,
Yeah.
are you gonna put out a volunteer request publicly, or do you want just us to spearhead this?
I don't know. I kind of thought that maybe if people were interested in a little project to kind of get your feet wet and see the sorts of things that we do, that might be something that members of the commission might want to do. But I can certainly it certainly wouldn't hurt to put it in the newspaper and get a little interest that way.
Fran, would you adjust your screen? All I can see is your ceiling. I can't see your face.
Yeah, I know. I'm on my phone, so I have to hold it if you want to see my face.
Oh, okay, there you are.
Sorry, Jean.
That's okay.
No, I'm not opposed to having outsiders help us, and I think it's always a good way to encourage people to volunteer. I just think we need to be aware of, we don't want too many people.
No.
And we don't want, we want it done carefully so that you don't have mistakes or anything. So I'm just trying to think of logistically how you would do it. That's all.
Yeah,
is it possible to digitize this or something so that, like you had the fire, this would be on record and maybe the town could do it?
Yeah, yeah, when it's done, you know,
Yeah.
when it's all done. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we definitely want to have things digitized and saved, just like the oral history interviews, which I think hopefully we'll be able to share all of this stuff with people in the town and to preserve it for posterity. Having been on the Historical Commission for 30 years or so, I'm starting to feel historic myself, and I want to make sure all this work survives.
Because the DPW right now is digitizing every street sign, every sign in Wakefield. And I think they're doing a grid of every 6 feet.
Wow.
And this should be something that DPW has been doing. So maybe they could add that to it, and more or less people could dial that in, actually see the stone, read it, get a history on it. And if something is missing, we'll know it.
Well, I want to just start in a low-tech way and just get this, just make sure that we get all the letters and numbers lined up that would correspond to all of these huge binders full of pictures and all the text. Yeah, but I think ultimately, yeah, we would like to share this. We'd like to make it easily available to people. And if the DPW has the technology, my gosh, yeah, that would be good.
Like a Google Earth where you'd zero right in on the stone itself.
Okay. Well, since you're in space, Dan, you know, you're thinking globally. Okay, so we'll get going with that project. See how we make it up. So I really don't have anything else on my agenda here. Does anybody else have anything?
Just wishful thinking. I hope next month we can meet in person. Wouldn't that be great?
Yes.
Well, speaking of the next meeting, I think we should plan to pencil one in for our regular meeting time, which would be the last Wednesday in July.
Last Wednesday in July.
Last Wednesday in July, unless
the
there's
29th. The 29th.
Okay. So we will pencil that in.
Wait,
usually,
wait a minute, just so you know, our schedule is the 4th Wednesday of the month.
Oh, okay, Fran, thank you.
So it's actually the 22nd.
Correct.
Okay, so it's the 22nd.
It's the 22nd.
Right. And usually we meet at 7:30.
I know. I was just trying to go along with the rest of the Zoom meetings that seem to take place. They seem to take place at 7 o'clock, and our meeting next month will be at 7:30. It might be virtual. It might be at the AmeriCal. We'll see what develops, and we'll post the meeting and get things going. At that time, we should organize and try to plan out what we're doing for the fall. In particular, we usually participate in Wakefield Heritage Day, a nice Saturday, the last Saturday in September, with a whole lot of public programming with the Historical Society and the Hartshorn House Association. I don't know if that is really going to be possible to have any kind of large scale thing. So it might all be virtual, which would be okay. We could have videos and things like that. WCAT has told us that they will help us by running all kinds of historical videos. Anything we can come up with. But that will take I think a little bit of planning. So anyway, so that's it.
Will you be emailing us with a quick little summary of this meeting?
I will do that. I will send you a summary of the meeting. I will, I will do that. And we can maybe approve it as the minutes at the next meeting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Nancy, have you met the new building inspector?
I have not.
Okay. Because if our new demolition delay policy is supposed to be in place, I'm just wondering if they've been made aware and how that all works out.
It's pretty tricky, the way that the wording is. I just checked on it today when I refined or revised what was on our website. It's how that's going to work out financially with the applicant having to pay for the notice of public meeting. I don't know how that's going to work.
Okay.
That's something too. But at least, if you recall, the last time we had somebody wanting to knock something down, Attorney McGrail maintained that the bylaw had not been amended.
Yeah, he knew nothing about it.
So, of course, he was there at the town meeting, sitting right in front of me when it was passed. So, but there was a lot of things that night, so he might have forgotten. Anyway, so now it's on our website, and hopefully it will be on the town's website as well.
Okay.
Anything else? Dan?
Yeah, I don't know if you've been reading about the old Winship Mansion up there. I guess the police have been up there like 20-something times within the last, and it's a dangerous situation. And the kids are even up on the house. So.
Well, I would have thought the new owner would be more on the.
He had promised he was going to secure it, but as you can see, he isn't.
Yeah. Well,
I referred to that in an editorial I sent to the item that the cops are always up there.
Yeah, that's a very sad situation. At any rate, but the times have been so strange that maybe that interfered with the new owners securing the property. However, he's responsible for the public safety, and if it's an attractive nuisance. But anyway, are there any other? Does anybody else have anything to say?
I thank you for, you mentioned at the beginning of the meeting that you're going to send some things to kind of get us a little more up to speed and a little bit of background information. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And feel free to email me if you have any ideas of any things that you want to. I know you're interested in learning more about the history, and I'm sure everybody else is as well. So,
Nancy, when's the next open house at the schoolhouse? Might want to take a tour.
Well, I don't know because
again, it's the.
I don't know. I don't know. We don't know when we can open the Hartshorn House for rentals again. We don't know. We don't know when it would be. I think we would have to go along with whenever the governor says you can have a museum open. So, and I think that's phase 3.5 or something. Just got something interesting over the winter or during the beginning of the pandemic. A gentleman from North Reading had contacted us because he had the potbelly stove that was in the Greenwood train station. The Greenwood train station that was later moved to Pleasure Island, along with the potbelly stove that was in there. And he donated it to the museum. So it's kind of a nice double-barreled history, because it's a relic of Pleasure Island, and it's also a relic of the Greenwood train station.
Yeah.
It's very nice of him to have donated it to us, but we haven't figured out where to put it yet, and it's kind of big, so we could have to get some volunteers to help us move it around, I think. But I'll let you know when the next meeting, open house is, Dan. Okay. Anything else? Okay, well, thank you all very much. Thank you for bearing with us through the our rocky start here. If we have to have another virtual meeting, I'm sure we'll be real professional.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, you're so optimistic, Nancy.